Wysteria, energy, twister.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Legends of Britany and the story of Tristrem in Britany. After many adventures in Spain, Tristrem arrived in Britany, where he aided the Duke of that country with his sword. The Duke's daughter, known as Yasonde of the White Hand, hearing him sing one night a song of beauty of Yasonde, thought that Tristrem was in love with her. This is a different Yasonde. The Duke therefore offered Tristrem his daughter's hand, and in despair of seeing Yasonde of Ireland again, he accepted the honour. But on the wedding day, the first Yasonde's ring dropped from his finger, as if reproaching him with infidelity, and in deep remorse he vowed that Yasonde of Britany should be his wife, in name only. Now the Duke of Britanny bestowed on Tristrem a fair demesne divided by an arm of sea from the land of a powerful and savage giant named Beliagog, and he warned his son-in-law not to inure the resentment of this dangerous neighbour. But one day Tristram's hound strayed into the forest land of Beliagog, and the master, following them, was confronted by the wrathful owner. A long and cruel combat ensued, and at last Tristram lopped off one of the giant's feet. Thereupon the monster craved mercy, which was granted on the condition that he should build a hall in honour of Yasonde of Ireland and her maiden, Brengwain. This hall was duly raised, and upon its walls was portrayed to the life the whole history of Tristrem, with pictures of Yasonde of Ireland, Brengwain, Mark, and the other characters in the tale. Tristrem, the Duke, Yasonde of Britany, and Ganharden, her brother, were riding to see the marvel when Yasonde confessed to Ganharden that Tristrem did not regard her as his wife. Ganharden, angered, questioned Tristrem, who concealed nothing from him, and recounted to him the story of his love for the Queen of Cornwall. Ganharden was deeply interested, and on beholding the picture of Brengwain in the newly erected hall, he fell violently in love with her. I am not sure what that means when someone says he fell violently in love with her. It sounds kind of like too much, right? Anyway, the forest lovers. Tristram now returned to Cornwall with Ganharden, and encountered Yasonde the Queen and the fair Brengwain. But one Canados, the king's constable, discovered them and carried the ladies back to court. Ganharden made the best of his way home to Brittany, but Tristram remained in Cornwall, disguised as a beggar. Our story now tells of the great tournament of the Cornish court, and now Ganharden hid from Brittany and rejoined Tristram. It means he headed to join Tristram. That's what it means. I don't know why it says that, but I guess it's how they worded it back then. The two encountered the lists and took up the challenge of Meriadoc and Canados. Tristram, tilting at his old enemy, wounded him desperately. The issue of the combat between Canados and Ganharden hung in the balance when Tristram, charging at the constable, overthrew and slew him. Then, fired with the lust of conquest, Tristram bore down upon his foes and exacted a heavy toll of lives. So great was the scathe done that day that Tristram and Ganharden were forced once more to fly to Brittany, where, in an adventure, Tristram received an arrow in his old wound. Now we move on to the French manuscript. Should be interesting. At the point, the Oceanic MS, from which this account is taken, breaks off. The story is concluded, in language similar to that of the original, by Sir Walter Scott, who got his materials from an old French version of the tale. We read that Tristram suffered sorely from his wound, in which, as before, gangrene set in. Aware that none but Ysander of Ireland could cure him, the stricken knight called Ganhardin to his side and urged him to go with all speed to Cornwall and tell the Queen of his mortal extremity. He entrusted him with his ring and finally requested the Breton knight to take with him 2 sails, one white and the other black, the first to be hoisted upon his return should Ysander accompany him back to Britanny, the sable sail to be raised should his embassy fail of success. Now Ysander of Britanny overheard all this that was said. Her jealous fears were confirmed, and she resolved to be revenged upon her husband. Ganhardin voyaged quickly to Cornwall and arrived at the court of King Mark, disguised as a merchant. In order to speed his mission, he presented rich gifts to the king and also a cup to Ysander, into which he dropped Tristram's ring. This token procured him a private audience with the queen, and when she learned the deadly peril of her lover, Ysander hastily disguised herself and fled to the ship with Ganhardin. In due course, the vessel arrived off the coast of Brittany, carrying the white sail, which was to signify Tristram that Ysander was hastening to his aid. But Ysander of Brittany was watching, and perceiving from the signal that her rival was on board, she hurried to her husband's couch. Tristram begged her to tell him the colour of the sail, and in the madness of jealousy, Ysander said it was black, upon which, believing himself forsaken by his old love, the knight sank back and expired. Tristram has scarce breathed his last breath when Ysander entered the castle. At the gate an old man was mourning Tristram's death, and in the ominous words which he uttered, she hastened to the chamber where the corpse of him lay. She had loved him so well. With a moan, she cast herself upon the body, covering the dead face with kisses and pleading upon silent lips to speak. Realizing at last that the spirit had indeed quitted its mortal tenement, she raised herself to her feet and stood for a moment gazing wildly into the fixed and glassy eyes. With a great cry, she fell forward upon the breast of her lover and was united with him in death. There are other versions of this story, of course, as there is in many stories, you know. And we're not going to go into the other stories, but as you can tell, Romeo and Juliet comes to mind, does it not? Definitely. So I guess that's how Tristram died, but his love did fall with him. So they are together in spirit forever now. When we come back, we will go to the giant of Mont Saint Michel. Many blessings.
Wysteria. Energy. Twister.